Welcome to the Builders of Authority podcast, a show committed to helping you build authority for your brand. In the realm of business and personal branding, authority stands as a cornerstone. Authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time. So join us as we build something remarkable together. And now, here's your host, Adam McChesney.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Builders of Authority podcast. We're live here at Adventure Unknown in Fenton, Missouri. If you haven't been out to Adventure Unknown yet, feel free to send me a message. We'd love the opportunity to show you around what we have going on here. You'll be able to see the podcast studio. Our podcast is brought to you by Punchline Productions. So we do everything, all the networking, all the business meetups, everything that you can get here at Adventure Unknown and much more. We continue to grow. Send me a message. Would love to have you here for a visit. Today we actually have Delaney's uncle, Bob Mastis, live in studio as a guest on the podcast. He was supposed to be a guest a couple of months ago, had a little bit of an injury, so we can get into that in a second. But he also owns a marketing agency here in St. Louis called Digital Intersection. For the first few years after knowing him, I really didn't know what he did. I also didn't really know anything about digital marketing either, though, back in 2015, 2016. So after getting into digital marketing myself in 2018 and going full-time in 2020, I learned obviously a little bit more about what he does and what his agency performs for their clients. So I'm excited to dive into his story here today. So Uncle Bob, what's going on?
How are you, Adam? Thanks for having me.
Good, man. Glad we were able to finally get this done after the injury.
I'll tell you what, a flip-flop out the back door is not healthy for your ankle. Fractured tibula, 8 pins and 8 screws and plates in your ankle is not a fun experience. So.
Yeah, love it. Well, tell us a little bit kind of about your journey. Obviously, I know a lot of that, but, you know, where you got started in the marketing space and then where the entrepreneurial part of it comes in and kind of everything in between.
Yeah, sounds good. So I think, I don't want to, I don't want it all to be about me, but, it really goes back. I think education was marketing and management at University of Missouri, St. Louis. My father was in marketing for 35 years. And so I think it was one of those kind of proverbial follow in your father's footsteps. And so I started my career out at Merritt's Performance Improvement Company, working in their data division, if you will. So that's really where I got my start in analytics and understanding data within a kind of loyalty marketing space. From there, bounced around to quite a few different smaller entrepreneurial organizations, agencies. And then landed at one for 9 years, which was very entrepreneurial startup. We were literally 5 people coming together. Grew that over 9 years, and then that agency ultimately sold. But I think starting at Merritt's, working for smaller family-owned entrepreneurial organizations is really where I got the bug. And in 2009, when the economy wasn't so great, that's when everybody was pulling back with the recession. I really felt like this was my opportunity to start because I was very data-driven, very focused on return on investment marketing. And at the time, that seemed to resonate extremely well. And since that time, and now even through the COVID years, it's even more prevalent in the industry. So chief marketing officers, chief experience officers, marketers of all kinds are now held to a much finer, review of their finance teams internally, and they want to make sure everything they're spending, they're getting a positive return on investment. They're getting some type of traffic to their website. They're generating leads, and that's really, I think, the name of the game today.
And so I'm interested to get your take on this because I think there's been the wave probably since like 2015 of these like internet marketers that I'm sure you've obviously dealt with in one way, shape, or fashion that like kind of like me, right? Like I'm in that boat. I'm not going to discount that, but like where I just went online, I started learning stuff and it's been easier than ever before. There's no barrier to entry to be a digital marketer. How has that wave of new marketing agencies, the freelancers or the small agencies that outsource everything, right? How has that impacted the agency space?
Yeah, I think it definitely has created more fragmentation. I think it creates a little bit more confusion for the client side. I think there's still a need for a general agency. Some might say an agency of record. It really depends on the client base, I think, that you're serving, and the marketing channels that are in use for the client. So, for example, for us, digital is very important. It's a channel that, you need that level of awareness. It is a lead generation channel. But we're also looking at other channels as well. Direct is very big for us. So traditional direct mail marketing that has been supposedly dead for the last 25 years, we're mailing out easily over 2-3 million pieces a year. So, and that's on behalf of a lot of our loyalty clients where, we're communicating point balances, but we're bringing in demographics and analytics to help the pieces be more responsive. But the same thing for email marketing. I've always felt that all channels work together. But it just depends, I think, on the client. I think it depends on the client's needs. But there definitely is fragmentation in the industry. And I would say probably not a week goes by that I don't get at least a dozen, requests. Hey, your website isn't filtering well for SEO.
Yeah.
You've got errors
everywhere.
We saw it with a potential client that came to us yesterday. We ran some reports against the site, and we saw, hey, it's scored 78%. Well, is that a B- or a C+? It depends on how you, but there were a lot of things that could be improved. So those are opportunities for improvement.
So when you were working in the agency versus making that transition to go full time into your own thing in entrepreneurship, what was kind of the growth? Obviously, like just Bob and then growing a team. Talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, it was interesting. So I think, when I did start out on my own, there was another partner involved, but he moved on. It wasn't a right fit for him personally. So, but I kept going. But I think I had the confidence because I felt like when I was coming from one of the agencies here in St. Louis that is unfortunately no longer. They were one of the largest agencies in St. Louis and ultimately folded in the last 3 years. But when I was there, it was a very creative-driven agency. Production, so to speak, was the creative product. In my world, production is direct mail output, email output, touches to the client. So I learned very quickly the difference between a creative-driven agency as well as a lead generation or tactics-driven. And I very much wanted to be tactics. So a lot of times clients have their brand architecture, their brand standards. I think what we're very good at doing is harnessing those assets and turning those into campaigns that generate revenue. I felt like I was filling a gap in the industry at the time. There's still great creative agencies, and I appreciate and recognize great creative product. It's very, very important. But I also recognize that the equation, if you will, target or list, the variable, the equation, target and list versus creative versus messaging. It's all three of those things creating the positive return on investment.
And then with that, growing an agency, right, and making it not just about like Bob. That's the thing that I struggled with before. That's the thing that we were just talking about before. It's like most of the stuff comes through Adam's relationships pipeline. I know you have a lot of that stuff too. How have you built a team and a culture outside of it just being like, hey, I'm Bob. I know you want to do business with me, but like, I'm not the whole business.
That's tough. And it really is. I mean, my goal in starting my own business was not to build where I came from.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking to build a 125 person agency. And then when one major client goes away, you lose 25 employees. I had lived through that. I had seen that in multiple areas, and that's not what I was looking to build. I was looking to build something small, family-like culture, that gives the team good ability. Hey, come to work. Let's get our work done. Certainly, there are times that you have to get things done after hours, but I think the most I ever was probably close to 25 employees, and over the years it's fluctuated. Now we're down to roughly 10 with full-time and contract team members. But I can say that I've been the happiest when the team was smaller as opposed to when it was bigger. I guess it's a control, depending on the owner's personality, over the years I've learned to let go and depend on the team. So I'm not, I've managed to stay what I consider under the radar over the years that, other maybe agencies in St. Louis might have heard of us, but that's okay. I wasn't in it for the notoriety and I wasn't in it for the awards. I was in it to do good work and produce campaigns that perform for our clients.
And so how have you guys built the authority and got clients? How did it start versus maybe where it's at now?
Yeah, I mean, most of our clients come to us word of mouth. Over the years, I've struggled with, do I hire a salesperson? And then you think about the economics there. It's like, what you're going to pay a salesperson. You know what they have to bring in. And if they don't bring that in, then ultimately it's not going to work out for either party. So I think where the struggle was having somebody that could, and speaking from an owner perspective or a leader perspective, having another individual on your team that can have the same type of dialogue with potential clients that you yourself would. How do you have that conversation? How do you ask those probing questions to find those points of pain that the client, it's almost what keeps the client up at night. Yeah. And where can your agency fill that gap and be an extension of their team and help support them? So those that I said that pretty quickly and pretty easily.
Yeah.
But finding another individual to do that just as you or I would is actually very challenging.
It is.
And I've not at my age right now, after 16 years, going on 16 years, I've not found the solution. So I don't have an answer for you there.
So that was going to be my next thing. So you're doing the sales, you're doing probably the relationship and networking aspect of it.
Yeah. So so I will do, if a new lead comes in, typically one of our account managers and I will tag team that. We'll have the conversation with the client. We'll pull together a statement of work based on what the client is interested in, and then we'll take it from there. I will say that I've been very blessed that right now with my current team, I have all the confidence and can depend on them for managing and keeping the current client base going. They do a phenomenal job, and that allows me to still handle that kind of business development role.
Sure.
But I would say there probably is a significant percentage of clients, a couple of our larger clients, that I am directly involved in. I mean, I'm still the analytics guy. I'm still running data. I'm still working on client customer segmentation studies, and really honing in on who's that target audience and what's the right messaging. And then our team comes together and collaborates on what's the campaign, what's the right channels to use, and what are the right messages for those audiences.
So how do you figure out from a time management standpoint where to spend your time as the CEO? And I'll preface this by saying a lot of the questions I'm asking is selfishly because I want to know the answers, but I'm sure it'll benefit the audience too.
Yeah. It's, I guess from a personality standpoint, I can't leave the office any day without having my inbox clear. So I guess I'm just very.
And do you manage that yourself, or do you have somebody else that manages your inbox?
Oh, me, yeah, okay. Absolutely, yeah. No, I feel like, and I think I've really been a leader by showing. And I think people have my team over the years has learned from me from watching how I work. But I'll want to get back to the client almost instantaneously. I mean, it won't be a day or 4 hours. I'll try to get back to the client literally within the hour that they've sent a message. So, it's more of a, I guess, what's the right word? It's kind of a triage, if you will. So it is a little bit first in, first out, but then also measuring how critical is that inquiry or that request, and jumping on that right away. I really feel like our entire team gives each and every client, no matter the size of the client, equal attention,
Sure.
which I think is very important. Some of our, say, a small nonprofit client versus one of our larger for-profit clients, I feel like we serve them equally.
And then when it comes to kind of building your team, and you mentioned like multiple times, like, hey, I trust that they are going to do that. How did you develop that trust to be able, and probably part of it is on them being showing up and doing what you obviously asked them to do. So there's that question. And then like, where did you maybe have some struggles along the way where you gave too much trust and you realize, oh, hey, they weren't doing the thing, and then you have to, have that tough conversation and navigate it from there?
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, I think any business owner, any leader of a team, it takes time to establish that trust through positive interactions, through giving them a chance and then giving them a little bit more and a little bit more. There has been over the years instances where potentially we've lost a client or two. I mean, we've been lucky that most of our client relationships are 5 years plus. That I'm very proud of as well.
Yeah.
A couple clients are actually, I can think of 3 of them that are at 10 years.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool, I think, that we've been able to maintain our position in the companies. But yeah, I think it takes time. My hiring practices have always been ones of kind of that connection. So, I can think of 2 employees 2 team members that I have right now were referrals from other people that I've trusted and have worked with in the past. So I tend not to go out to, any one of the job seeker sites and just pull down resumes. It's been more so, oh, so-and-so. Oh, well, okay, you just graduated from college. So, hey, come on over. Let's do an internship for a couple months. And then let's see how after that 90 days, let's see how that works out. And that's been a pretty good, that's been a good practice for me so far. But then again, I'm not hiring 125 people. I'm hiring a close-knit group of skilled people, 10 to 12 people. So it hasn't been my strategy to ramp up and build something so big.
Yeah. And so it sounds obviously like that was by design. So how did you, over the years, obviously mentioned as many as 25 down to 10. I know you mentioned less stress, probably a business that you're like, hey, I actually like, this is what I meant to do. How have you managed the up and the down, and how have you managed not wanting or not growing too quickly by also holding true to that?
Yeah. I think, it's probably been the approach that I think, as we talked before we started filming, we're not really doing any active outbound marketing right now. All of our clients come to us really organically. Word of mouth, heard about us through a trade show, not a trade show, but an association. Yeah. And that has been a blessing. So quite honestly, and probably one of my negative attributes, if you call this the Builders of Authority confession, I have not been an active, while I do handle the inbound sales development, I have not been a very fierce, active outbound person. I'm not a salesperson. I never wanted to aspire to be a salesperson. I am, I think, one of those supporting people that have always, in my previous agency life, that, while you do have that salesperson, that business development person, I'm kind of the supporting expert that comes in to support what we're trying to sell. Yes. And that's where my comfort has always been. It's been supporting the sales process in my respective area of expertise. And I've just carved out that area of expertise and made a business out of it.
I think that's, it's awesome to see that, because I think so many people, like myself included, like I do have that sales background. I do have the analytical side, not to your degree, but I at least know like the product and I've done it 100 times over and over and over to be able to what I would refer to as like solution sell.
Yep.
But it's always a struggle with trying to understand how quickly you should and can actually grow while also maintaining the quality, right? And I think that's obviously like hearing 5 years on average and a couple on 10, like that's the selling factor where you almost don't need to have that thing, right?
Yeah, and you know, in the main agency, well, two of St. Louis's large agencies over time, you know, there were models in place in terms of what size client are we going for, and in one of the agencies that I was the startup in, involved in, you know, the startup. You know, there was no opportunity we would pass. I mean, if it were, you know, hey, you know,
I've been there.
You know, a client comes in and says, hey, I want to, you know, work on a project, $5,000, $10,000. We would attack. You know, that's good. Over the 9 years that I was with that agency, it then became part of the business model that we're not going to work with a client that has any less than $250,000. So as the agency grows, so does the client spend. And so that's when the model changes, as we were just talking. Then when is it right or appropriate to hire another account manager? Or we've got so many different clients now, we need to hire another SEO support person or another creative designer or so forth. So I think as the agency grows, that's kind of a moving target.
Yeah.
And you do have to manage it in that way. So,
well, and I know obviously you do nonprofit stuff. You have a bunch of other, you know, industries that you've worked with as well. But I think identifying who that ideal client is super important, and where a lot of agencies struggle, whether it's hey, I'm the generalist, I can, you know, do a little bit of everything. Like I've gotten really hyper-focused. We're 95% contracting and home services, so it's not like I'm so far down one thing.
Right.
But the space, whether it's a roofer or it's an HVAC company, SEO is kind of strategized the same way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people struggle with that, and they wonder, you know, why they're not growing, or they have to go and do this massive thing and their client churn is so high because they don't have the right client because they're working with people that just started in business and have low budgets.
Absolutely. Yeah, that great point. So in my experience with the first agency that I was a part of, you know, as I said, we take a project of any size and we take a client of any industry type. And, you know, it was all an effort to grow and get to a point where we could hone in. Interestingly, for that first agency that I worked with, you know, it was healthcare marketing, and healthcare was huge. Back in the early 2000s, a lot of things were changing. And so that became an area where that agency honed in and focused. And then they ultimately grew their client portfolio to healthcare plans all over the country. And so that also, in that strategy of building an agency, I think there's more value if the owner wanted to sell the agency, that you could go to a larger agency that does healthcare marketing and ultimately say, hey, I'm attractive to you because I've got this amount of business that fits your mold. And that's what happened with the first agency. Second agency in St. Louis that I worked with, they were kind of the I wouldn't say scattered, but they were they had various kinds of business services that they focused on. And they ultimately did sell that business based on one very large client, as well as this team, the engine, the creative production engine that they had was attractive to a much larger agency. So it can go both ways. I mean, I think the wisest way to go would be ultimately honing in on an industry, optimizing and blowing out that industry, and that ultimately could make you attractive to others. Otherwise, you've got to have just a very diverse staff that they're really marketing, just marketing gurus that can go around and apply learnings from one industry to another, but still be successful in doing that.
Well, that's the thing that I've struggled with. And I'm like, later today, I have an hour-long training with our team where I'm just going through like every different aspect of the roofing industry. And it's hard because I can hop on a call, a sales call or a client call, and I can talk roofing and I can talk tree services in the next call, and then I can also talk about outdoor living and not miss a beat.
Right.
And then you try to get that over to your content writer and all that stuff. So it's like there is so much power in, as the CEO, knowing all of that stuff to be able to cast the vision, to have those conversations. Right. But if you can't translate that to the rest of your team,
right,
and train them on how to educate themselves, like that self-education aspect, that's what I'm trying to build. So then that way it's like, hey, you know, you don't just learn from me, but you have to learn from our clients. You have to learn from the industry. You have to learn from all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's that, and it's the team using your speak in their conversations with clients.
Yes,
you know, showing their clients that they understand their business as much as they do. You know, so it is a challenge. I mean, it's very much a challenge, and that's why in the agency world you'll find, hey, we're hiring somebody from the client side to work in the agency, or vice versa.
Yeah,
I mean, it's easy for an agency person who's worked in a particular industry to go out to that industry and potentially find an opportunity for employment. So yeah, it's an interesting world. I personally I've only been on the agency side my entire career. I've never been in the client seat, but I think over the years I've gotten an understanding of how, you know, internal corporate politics plays roles, affects budgets, affects strategy and things of that nature. So you'll have to be kind of knowledgeable of everything that could be going on in the client organization.
Where do you see the agency space going with all the AI stuff?
It's a very good question. And I jokingly said the other day, I hope I'm done by the time AI by the time that AI takes full course. It's interesting. I expected you would ask a question about AI. So we have a client that recently came to us. It was actually a referral, word of mouth. One of our financial services clients went to another institution, called us and said, we need a new website. And we said, okay, great. Let's talk. Let's look at the existing site. Let's talk. And this is an industry that we're very knowledgeable in. We've built easily over 100 websites in this particular industry, and over the years. And she said, well, we're going to use AI to design the site. Okay, that's great. So you're going to use AI to construct the site, at least the primary and secondary navigation and the general layout and sitemap. That's great. And what is AI going to give us? Well, did it export exact code? It exported code, but ultimately we still had a development effort around that AI generation and the code that it output. And it's interesting, right now we had this conversation the other day that while the client saved money potentially in the upfront design, discovery, design, concepting, you didn't have a lot of that because they kind of handled that with the AI tool that they chose. They ultimately then spent development dollars. We have to develop the site with a human, but then ultimately AI didn't take into consideration every single aspect of the user experience. So it's a community bank. And so it was like, for example, online banking or mobile banking, or, there were things that as humans, we still had to go and tweak and change in the site map. So ultimately, did the site turn out great? Clients happy, looks phenomenal? Yes. But to your point, is how is AI going to affect the agency world? Right now, I say it's a little bit 50-50. I mean, AI can do some of it. It can't do all of it. And is it going to do all of it perfectly to the client's expectations? No. So you're kind of shifting some of the resources from the upfront to the back end. So, I say it's still a little up in the air right now.
Well, a lot of people so I was at an event over the weekend in Vegas, and there was 4 marketing agencies talking, and you'll hear, depending upon who you talk to and what they're pushing at any given moment, some people are like, oh, the agency model's already gone, and other people are like 3 to 5 year. And so I think there's probably like a 2 to 3 year bubble where there's things inside of the agency that starts to basically go depleted. So there's already AI SEO tool that I've tried, and it basically with one click of a button, it can go do all the SEO on hundreds and hundreds of pages. Well, the problem is it can do the thing, but the strategy's not there.
Yeah.
So you can go click that button and then it F's everything up, but then you got to go back and do it. So if you do it the right way, you got to put the whole strategy in there and then it goes and does it. But by the time you go do that and you have to do it in this system, as you mentioned, it does the thing, but you got to go spend more time actually going and doing it. And the same thing on the paid ads, you go click the button, it launches all these paid ads. Well, the copy's wrong, the headlines, like all this stuff. So I think right now it's still way too early. I've built 25 sites recently where everything is in AI. All the copies there, all the designs there, all the developments there, and they look okay, but they're merely test things to say how Google is going to pick up on stuff. What you saw was when we launched them for the first 6 months, it's just a skyrocket, and then Google freaking tanks it. So there's so many things that people, I think the biggest thing to be scared about for agencies is that so many people are looking at this as an opportunity to sell something new, that it's going to muddy down the waters of like what people are actually doing, and it's not effective yet. It will be at some point.
I could definitely see AI taking over a role of an analytics person, right? When it comes down to data analytics, leveraging multiple third-party resources, mashing that data up, and then producing something that's usable for a marketer to create campaigns. Yeah, I could see, like the cost of segmentation studies or modeling efforts. I would think that AI will bring down the cost and the ability for clients to do that. But to your point, AI is not going to go out to the WordPress site or to the content management system, update the meta tags, the H1s, the H2s. Is AI going to come back in 30 days and say, well, I was doing this wrong. Now, how do I do it better? So I think there's still going to be a need for consultative support. I think AI is certainly something that we're all going to have to live with in the future. But to the extent that it's going to replace strategists and people, in the financial services industry, there are large organizations that serve, community banks and credit unions, and they tend to manage the core systems of the bank or of the credit union. And many, many years ago, they started spinning off website services. So the community and banks and credit unions would say, oh, sure, well, if you're managing my core systems, go ahead and give me that website for $5,000. Sure, okay. So what happened is they were offering templates with different brand colors and different content. So if I'm a community bank and I'm a credit union, we could have the exact same UI UX, but just with different brand colors right across the street from each other. And so I think a little bit with AI that could happen. I mean, how is AI going to mix it up and give a unique experience from one client to the next in the same industry or outside the same industry? I think clients are still going to want some level of uniqueness and customization that supports their vision for their organization. So I think it's probably something that we as agency people will have to understand and bring to our clients when appropriate, but then also understand that, hey, just to let you know, we've tried it, we've used it, and here's why you may or may not want to leverage it.
That's awesome. Well, great. This was an awesome episode. I'm glad we got to do this. How was I interviewing? Was I a good interview?
Yeah, you did. This was great. There you did. I don't think you didn't trip me up too much, so I think I'm pretty good.
Well, good. Well, what are you most excited about as we end the episode of just like the future of the company? I know you mentioned having to deal with AI and all this stuff. And what are you excited about? Where is everything going?
Yeah, I think I'm most excited right now. Here we are in fiscal year 2025. Q1 was strong. Q2 was stronger. And usually for us, Q3 and Q4 are really the stronger months because we have year-end activities and just the types of the clients that we have are typically coming out a little stronger in Q3 and Q4. So I'm excited about the next year or this current year. I'm blessed with the team that I have that, we get our work done. Clients are happy with us. I think ultimately, as a lot of times overused, we'd like to be extensions of our clients, but we also like to say, you know what, we're friends too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're people that are talking to each other on a weekly basis. So it's nice to get to know our clients personally as well, and create that kind of win-win relationship for everybody at the table. So, I'm happy. I think probably just pushing forward here, and I don't envision for me and Digital Intersection any significant changes. I think we'll welcome new clients as the opportunities arise, and we'll continue to give our clients great service.
Love it. Where can people stay connected and learn more about what you guys get going on?
Yeah, you can find us at our website at digitalintersection.com. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, or just reach out via the website. All my information is there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad we got to finally do this.
I'm glad to.
Yep. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you're watching or listening, if you're listening on the podcast, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. It definitely helps get this information out to more people. Incredible nuggets here today from Uncle Bob. If you're on YouTube, right, make sure to subscribe to our channel, like the video, comment with what you learned. All that stuff definitely helps us push the needle. And we appreciate you watching. We will see you next week. And remember, authority isn't built overnight. It's built over time.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. We sure do appreciate it. Until next time, friends.